hunger, crushing debt and injustice within the Jewish community create a crisis in Nehemiah chapter 5 that threatens the people from inside Jerusalem. While Nehemiah has been defending the rebuilding effort against enemies outside the city, families now cry out because some of their own fellow Jews are exploiting their hardship, forcing Nehemiah to confront a problem that stronger walls alone cannot solve. A great outcry arose among the men and their wives against their Jewish brothers. Some families said they had many sons and daughters and needed grain simply to eat and stay alive. Others had been forced to mortgage their fields, vineyards, and homes in order to obtain grain during the famine. Still others had borrowed money to pay the king's tax on their fields and vineyards. Their situation had become desperate. They pointed out that they were of the same flesh and blood as their fellow Jews and that their children were just as valuable. Yet some were being forced to subject their sons and daughters to servitude because of their debts. Some daughters had already been enslaved, and the families felt powerless because their fields and vineyards now belonged to others. When Nehemiah heard their complaints, he became very angry. But he did not react impulsively. He considered the matter carefully before confronting the nobles and officials. Nehemiah accused them of charging interest to their own people and called a large meeting to address the situation publicly. He reminded the leaders that, as far as possible, they had been buying back fellow Jews who had been sold to foreigners. Yet now Jewish people were effectively being sold again because of exploitation by their own community. The accused leaders had nothing to say. Nehemiah told them that what they were doing was not right. They should live in reverence for God and avoid giving their foreign enemies another reason to reproach them. Nehemiah then included himself in the challenge. He, his relatives and his men had also been lending money and grain. He called for the charging of interest to stop, but stopping future exploitation was not enough. Nehemiah demanded restitution. The nobles and officials were to immediately return the fields, vineyards, olive groves and houses they had taken, together with the interest being charged on money, grain, new wine and olive oil. They agreed. "We will give it back," they said, promising not to demand anything further from the people. Nehemiah wanted more than words. He summoned the priests and made the nobles and officials swear an oath that they would fulfill their promise. Then he dramatically shook out the folds of his robe and declared that God should similarly shake out from their homes and possessions anyone who failed to keep the promise. The whole assembly responded, "Amen," and praised the Lord, and the people kept their word. Nehemiah then turns to his own conduct as governor. From the 20th until the 32nd year of King Artaxerxes, at 12 years, Nehemiah and his relatives did not eat the food allowance normally provided to the governor. Previous governors had placed heavy burdens on the people, taking food, wine, and silver from them. Even their servants had exercised authority harshly. Nehemiah chose another path. Because of his reverence for God, he did not act that way. Instead, he devoted himself to the work on Jerusalem's wall. His men also gathered there for the work, and Nehemiah did not use his position to acquire land. At his table, he regularly provided food for 150 Jews and officials, as well as visitors from surrounding nations. Every day, large amounts of food were prepared at his expense, including an ox, 6 choice sheep, and poultry. Every 10 days, wine was supplied in abundance. Despite the cost, Nehemiah did not demand the governor's food allowance because the burden already resting upon the people was heavy. The chapter closes with Nehemiah turning again toward God. "Remember me with favor, my God, for all I have done for these people." Nehemiah 5 interrupts the story of rebuilding the wall to reveal something essential. A restored city means little if the people inside it are destroying one another. Sanballat and Tobiah were obvious enemies because they opposed Jerusalem from outside. The injustice in this chapter was more dangerous in another way. It was being committed by members of the community against their own people. Nehemiah's response gives us a chapter-specific lesson about leadership. When we have influence, we should not use another person's hardship as an opportunity for our own advantage. Nehemiah confronted wrongdoing, demanded restitution, and then examined his own behavior. He did not ask others to carry burdens that he was unwilling to consider himself. Good leadership is therefore not only about completing projects, it is also about how people are treated while those projects are being completed. The economic crisis has been confronted, but the enemies outside Jerusalem have not disappeared. In Nehemiah chapter 6, Sanballat, Tobiah and Geshem change tactics. Unable to stop the rebuilding through intimidation, they attempt to lure Nehemiah away, spread accusations against him, and frighten him through deception. Yet despite every attempt to distract the work, Jerusalem's wall will reach completion.